WEFM. WhatsApp us or call us at 457-9997. Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
All righty, so time for an SVG. It is 8:11, and we are back with another commentary segment on today's Activated Mornings program. In studio, you have myself, Roleza Samuel.
And me, Dianna Cain.
And...
Good morning to everybody. Wonderful. I tell you, really, you asked me. I had a great weekend because the Super Bowl was on. Yes, and Philly won. The Eagles won. Now, people may not know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? What is into American football and so forth? I'm really a Giants fan, but I wanted Philly to win. I wanted the Eagles to win. And they almost blew the thing out. The New Orleans, I mean, I don't know how there was a blowout. So, I mean, we can talk football, American football all morning. Can we do that?
No,
only you,
because it's only you alone with me in this conversation.
All right, okay. Well, the Queens, I know we call and talk about the football. I know that. So, you know, I'm a happy man. This morning.
Yeah, I think I went last night. I only saw the
highlights.
Went for the, well, not even the highlights, just
Kendrick's
Kendrick's performance, the halftime show. That's the only thing I looked for. Yeah, I think the thing is I'm not as familiar with a lot of Kendrick songs, but I can see that the energy from the performance was good. I was surprised to see Serena there, you know, doing her crip walk, you know, and yeah, it was good. And
Caesar and so forth, you know, she was wonderful.
Who?
Yeah?
SZA, yeah, SZA performed as well with Kendrick, yeah. But I think what was amusing too was even the initial part of it with Samuel L. Jackson coming on, and he's representing Uncle Sam.
America.
Listen, I had a good chuckle with that. It's like a black man representing as Uncle Sam. The irony of it all, right? But yeah, it was interesting. But yeah, not really into American football, so I would only look for the halftime show and be done with it. That's me. Yeah.
All right.
All right, so that's enough of us with that initial intro. We are going to get into some serious business at this time. All right, so Dianna, you wanna take it away? Let's start with the Searchlight article.
All right, so I can't get to read this full thing because it's talking about subscription. But anyways, there's an article from Searchlight. Well, I was in the Searchlight newspaper. It's entitled "Mother of Bullied Teen Frustrated by Lack of Action from Ministry of Education." So a Camden Park mother is calling on the Ministry of Education to take seriously the reports of bullying involving her teen son, and asking them to move in haste in facilitating a transfer before further incidents occur. So the mother said that the harassment of her son started last year, the first year at the secondary institution. The first incident involved a male student slipping a packet of silica gel into the child's water bottle, which he later drank. Now, silica gel, if you don't know, is the gel that is usually in shoes. When you buy a new shoe, you usually find that little packet with the white grainy stuff in it. That is the silica gel. And if you notice it, it usually says, "Do not eat." Right? So the teen had to undergo medical treatment to have his systems flushed after the incident, with the medical expenses being covered by the parent of the student, who is said to have thrown that into his water. The student involved was suspended and punished by the school. The second incident involved the child being slammed against louvers in the classroom and taunted. And the child told Searchlight that some of the students were calling him a batty boy. I don't know. You have more?
Right. I didn't realize that the online article doesn't have the full thing. Otherwise, I would have brought the newspaper. Because the full story is in the newspaper. But it does continue with the mother wanting to take her son out of the school, and she is saying that the authorities are not doing enough to address. When I read this is some next level generation of children, right? Because I can understand situations of, yes, bullying. Bullying has happened to children from ever since, right? Bullying has happened. But what is the thought process of putting something like silica, which clearly says do not eat, into somebody's drink? As for what purpose? And the thing of it is that children are not aware of the full repercussions of their actions, because they're just thinking, okay, you're just doing this particular act. But suppose this boy had serious internal injuries as a result. Suppose this child went into a coma. Suppose this child had died, right? So I think that there are times when I have to wonder about some of these children who are coming up today, in that they just seem to be very wild and not stopping to think, right? So that is the first thing. The other thing is that stood out to me is in reference to the term that her son is being called. And when I read it, what it did is that it caused me to wonder how our parents or how our schools treating or teaching students to accept persons who may be different. No, I am not saying that this child is necessarily different, right? I don't know if this child may have effeminate ways, or if maybe they just put a sticker or a label on him without any sort of proper reasoning for it. But be that as it may, if you have a school where you have, let's say, a young man who is not necessarily the same or acting the same as other children, what are parents and what are teachers doing to allow for students who are a little bit different to coexist with other students instead of being targeted, right? Because I think what it is that the learning environment, the school environment, is the quote unquote starting ground for the wider world. These children, when they grow up, they are going to work in environments, they are going to work in offices, they're going to work in other countries where they're going to meet people who are different from them, right? And in being different from them, you have to learn how to I'm not using the word accept them, but you have to learn to know how to do what it is that you have to do and carry on with your life without necessarily attacking them, or without necessarily targeting them. And I think this is what it is that really does concern me. I'm not saying for parents to necessarily be accepting of an alternative lifestyle. I'm not saying that. But what it is that I'm saying is that persons need to know how to be civil towards each other. And whether or not this is the correct label that is attached to the child in this particular story, it is a teaching moment for parents and for teachers and the schools alike.
For society too, because a lot of this, I usually say that intentions are very intolerable, and behaviors like this is passed on from the adults, and a lot of our parents and grandparents don't like to take accountability for the negative things they pass down to us. But this kind of behavior, it's promoted in society in every single aspect. And one of the biggest things that helps to promote this kind of behavior is religion, where people believe that if you don't do things according to their Christian beliefs and you don't practice certain things, then you should be looked on a certain way. Not all of them do it, but most of them do it. You should be shunned, you should be scorned, and you should be, made to look a certain way. We've had cases where people in communities would just attack persons just because they are not like them, or because they live in a particular lifestyle that we're not pleased with. And you are correct, Roleza, we have to start to teach some of these things here. Well, I mean, I know that some counselors are doing sessions when they have classes. They will definitely try to teach a little bit of inclusion, but it is something that we definitely have to go into some more.
Yeah, and the article actually does say about an adult. I really should. Don't go on. So the article did say about an adult telling one of the other children to go and target the same young man. Yep. Right. So it does continue where, as you correctly saying, adults perpetrating or promoting this type of attack or violence towards other people.
let me come in here. And it is complex. Let's talk about in the Caribbean, and let's talk about issues of, let's say, lifestyle, homosexuality, that sort of thing. In the Caribbean, particularly in Jamaica, there is an intolerance to this. It comes out in song, boombai, and you will find that, I think about a couple years ago, a politician suggested that we now start having a conversation about that sort of thing. I think, it might have been Miss Frederick, if I could mention her name. And it seemed to be not only shut down by the Unity Labour Party, but also by the NDP, after you saw her get phased out. And that's very interesting. Now, we have no evidence that that is the case, but that's the topic that has come up. And in America now, with Trump coming in, there's been a total reversal. He's run an executive order that he is only going to recognize certain sex. There's no intersex. Any concept of sex change and so forth is going to be outlawed. And you're right, this has been very much influenced by a Christian community and so forth. And it goes back in many ways about what kind of bathroom should there be for somebody who has had a sex change and all that. This is a sensitive topic. And immediately as you start talking about it, people say, I wonder what is he thinking? I wonder where is he going with this and what is he advocating? But I'm really saying that I think that the majority of people in St. Vincent are going to be relatively intolerant. They don't agree with bullying. But if they find out that this young man is somewhat with behavioral lifestyle, some of the sympathies for him may well be lost. Yes, Sam? And I could understand the mother asking a transfer to the school because the child, I'm sure that child may say, I don't want to go back, mom. He may be tearful and so forth because of the pressure on top of him. Going into the classroom, there's really no way of talking to the kids and saying, you must like him, or they would say, what? Just like him? No way. Because if I like him, people would think I may be that way inclined too. So I'm going to show that I'm macho and I'm going to slap him about, slam him against things and call him all kind of names and feel good about doing that. So this stuff is very complex. And sadly, there's a condition called Klinefelter's syndrome, where a male has an extra X chromosome, everybody. Do you know that this is present 1 in every 1,000 persons, 1 every 500 or 1,000? That means with a population of 100,000, there will be at least 10. There will be at least 100 persons with Klinefelter, 50 with Klinefelter syndrome, with 50% of male, 50% of female. And this is a sexual thing where the male is infertile and so forth. But I'm mentioning it, that these genetic abnormalities and so forth really come out. And I don't want to get into detail, but I'm saying that this is quite common. And I'm mentioning it because that person will have no control about what the effects of having an extra X chromosome has on them. And people may be noticing certain things, the features and so forth, and would want to react to it.
You mentioned, okay, so I can understand maybe the child wanting to not return to that school because of the memories, etc., that it brings, right? The bad memories that it would bring.
Yeah.
But I'm also wondering, when you move the child from the school, the bully or bullies who are left back,
The information goes.
Yeah. How effective is it if you move the victim? Because the victim isn't at fault here, but you're moving the victim and the bullies remain, right? Although I do understand the victim possibly not wanting to stay.
There's a possibility of a fresh start. The risk of the same thing happening could occur again, but there's a chance of a fresh start because the person gets a little older, another year goes by of secondary school, they're going to spend 5 years in secondary school, suppose they spend 2, 3 already, you only have another 2 years left, they could go through it and then leave. You find these individuals tend to migrate, tend to, all sorts of things happen.
Yeah, it's just really it's really unfortunate because, I always remember the first time when I went to work at Raffles in Canawan, and it was my first encounter with a homosexual couple. Right? And
male couple or female couple?
Male couple. I don't think I might have had the same reaction if it was female, but as a male couple that was, they were managers working at the resort.
Yeah.
And it was just so weird for me to see their interaction because it's not something holding hands and being, intimate. And I was like, oh, Lord.
No, the point about it is that we have now shift that. That. Instead of sexual orientation, how about color, racism? Somebody who's black who go into a white community, and people are disgusted and want to get rid of them, or somebody who's Indian or somebody who may be socially from a different class, poor and so forth, and people intolerant. It's funny where prejudice really comes out in many different ways.
Yeah. So the thing of it is that when I saw it, it was that so it was weird to me, yes, right? Because I'm not used to seeing that coming from up here, being on St. Vincent. But the thing of it is that when I saw it, I just looked at it, accepted it for what it was, and moved on. Now the thing of it is that this is what I think is the problem with a lot of the older persons, because I think a lot of young persons are a little bit more tolerant, are a little bit more accepting, where you have the older folks who are sort of stuck in their ways. And again, it goes back to religion, where it's a case where you have to change, you the individual, you have to change, or else I am not accepting you as you are.
Okay, I still got to challenge you on this. Suppose let's go back a couple of decades and you saw a black man with a white woman, right? Or a white woman, most precisely, with a black man. And then you're a certain part of it. Could you understand how certain people around the world would want to lynch that black male? You know what I mean? And that I'm still shifting the level of intolerance. There are a lot of people around this world that will not seemingly tolerate certain things. And
those are things that we are taught, because when you take children don't discriminate. Children will play with each other. They will not see color. They will not see differences. We teach those things.
You're right.
So the problem is that it continues because this generation teach it to the next generation, and then we teach it to the next generation. We just make sure that we pass on those things.
But I can tell you, I remember in England, at the age of 11, my dad sat down with us. I was 11, my brother was 13, and my sister was 9. And he started telling us to be careful about homosexuality, because in a house we were living in, there were 2 ladies who were lesbian. I think he was more concerned with my sister. He didn't want influence to have, but he talked about homosexuality. And the way in which I would say he described it, I would have gotten a little scared of being around any male who was gay and homosexual, because I just wonder if they come after me, if they find out if they drug me or something like that. So that you were warned about don't take drinks from persons who gave it. So you do learn these things, but is it also protection for you? Is it good advice from a parent who don't want you to? And I know about the race and so forth, but is it good advice for parents to say, in terms of sexual orientation, a man, the Lord said, a man is supposed to be with a woman. And you mustn't do anything before a certain time, mustn't fornicate and so forth as well. But, but
this also can't come from the same parents who making children out of wedlock to us.
Correct. And I want to know.
Yeah.
Wait, before you go on.
Let's put a pause here because we have to take quotes and we will continue after. All right. So let's put a pause and we'll be back with more of this interesting topic.